take a look at this flag. Which part of the world do you think that this flag's flown in? If your answer is any parts of the Islamic world, your answer is sorry, incorrect. This is the flag of Portsmouth, United Kingdom. And you might be thinking and asking, should be the crescent and the star is the symbol of Islam? But in the course of history, it doesn't always be at that case. In fact, the crescent and the star is only become the universal symbol of Islam about 300 years ago, and before that there is an interesting history of how these two symbols of the celestial body represented a pagan gods, represented a city, and also represented an everlasting culture. Every year on 31st of August 1957, Malaysia is celebrating its Independence Day. And by noticing at the canton part, the upper left part of the flag, is the crescent and the stars. Officially, it represents Islam as the federal religion of Malaysia. However, crescent and stars is not an indigenous idea in this part of the world. It's never been appeared in Southeast Asia until 150 years ago. So how does the symbol from faraway part of the world eventually become part of the symbol of Malaysia and also some Islamic countries, and the one who doesn't? There are two major parts of history where eventually it will meet in one point in the 50th century that makes eventually crescent and star as the symbol of Islam. Let's look at the first part. Firstly, in the Fertile Crescent, it already sounds like a crescent by the way. About 2000 or 2500 BC, about 4500 years ago, Sumerian people worshipping celestial bodies as part of their polytheistic paganistic religions. In Sumerian mythology, moon is represented by the goddess Sin or Inanna, whereas the star is symbolized by the goddess Ishtar. Crescent and stars appear in the border stones in Sumeria to show that which king controlled which part of the land between these two rivers. And as the moon represented the fertility and also the cycle of the agriculture, thus so the moon represented the land fertility, which crucial for the agrarian society which depended solely on the irrigated land instead of hunting in the prehistoric era. And afterward, the society develops further out of the Fertile Crescent, and the paganistic belief of worshipping moon and stars is still there, only differences of the name and also differences of the essence of the belief. For example, in the Hellenistic Middle East, after the spread of the Hellenistic culture in the Middle East, some of the ancient kingdoms adapted moon and the star symbols as their own. For example, in the kingdom of Pontus, which existed in the 2nd century BC until year 62 AD, the Pontic kingdom adapted the symbol of the moon and the stars in their coinage, showing that the favor of the gods is with their kings. And another Hellenistic kingdom called Parthian kingdom, which ruled modern day Iran, which is right here, in the 2nd century AD, showing that the moon and stars as the part of the symbol of divine rule bestowed to the king. And the symbol is not only limited to the coinage but also in some artifacts. For example, that's this one found in Ay Khanum in Bactria, today is located in northern Afghanistan. And this paganistic symbol continued to be used in the Greco-Roman era when the moon is worshipped as the goddess Selena. And then after the Roman came to the Middle East, the moon goddess is simply rebranded to goddess Diana. And the goddess of the moon is considered as the important deity in the city of Byzantium, located in the modern day Turkey, of course. And there is a reason why. The goddess Selena is credited to save the city of Byzantium from the invasion from the outside forces, so that the people and the ruler of Byzantium adapted the symbol of the moon as the symbol of Byzantium, protected by the bright shining moon, which people of Byzantium can see the enemy try to attack them in the night. And after the spread of Christianity in the 4th century, the moon and the stars again changed its meaning, but the symbol is pretty much similar. Thus, the star, instead of symbolizing the pagan god, is now representing the star of Bethlehem, which shone in the sky when the three magi meet the Jesus Christ on one fateful night. And thus, the moon and the stars becoming the recognizable symbol of the city of Byzantium. Later, it became the new capital of Roman Empire, replacing the aging old Rome in Italy in year 3030 by the Emperor Constantine. And the Emperor Constantine more than happy to rename the city of Byzantium into the city of Constantinople after himself. And let's look at the second part of the history of the crescent and the stars. In the Turk culture and belief, or in the ancient Chinese writing, these people known as Xiongnu people. Turkic people believe that their existence in the world is as eternal as the moon and the sun and stars in the sky. And unsurprisingly, quite a number of the Turkic kingdoms and warlords using the crescents in their flags and also in their tamgas. Meanwhile, for the nearby Mongols, they adapted the moon and the stars and the sun. For the similar reason, they believe that the Mongol people are as eternal as the moon and the sun. And in the 17th century, these two important celestial symbols later adapted into the national symbol of Soyombo. Today is immortalized in the modern day flag of Mongolia. Meanwhile, back to the Turkish people's history as they moved from Central Asia to the Middle East and spread the influence all over. Turkish beyliks, or the small kingdoms, actually they use a variety of symbols. Not only the crescent, they use stars, they use sun, they moon, they use something look like this in the beylik of Karaman. They use a 6-star sun. You will think that this is a symbol of Judaism, but no. Beylik of Karaman is a Muslim Turkic beylik, which the population is almost Muslim. The rulers was Muslim, and so the symbols actually represent the 6 pillars of faith in Islam, nothing related to Judaism. And this variety of symbols of the moon and sun and stars actually represented variety of the Turkic clans and peoples gathering around. In year 1453, the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, Fatih Sultan Mehmed, has conquered Constantinople, which already have its own symbol of the moon and the stars, and thus Fatih Sultan Mehmed became the new ruler of Constantinople and rename it as Istanbul. And that is how Turkish people gain their authority and recognized as the owner of the symbol of the moon and the stars, which represent who is ruling Istanbul. And this is not actually just a hearsay or what. There is a academic journal written by William Ridgeway titled The Origin of Turkish Crescent. He argued that before the conquest of Istanbul by the Fatih Sultan Mehmed, there was no predecessor, there is no symbolism of the moon and the stars in previous Islamic caliphate. What more to link it back to the history of the beginning of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula. As such, after the Ottoman Empire ruled Istanbul, such the moon and stars become the symbol of Islam, because now the Muslim ruler of Ottoman Empire ruled Istanbul. Meanwhile, in the another part of the world, which is in modern day India, the Mughal Empire spread over from northern part of the subcontinent up the way to the central part, and Mughal Empire also used the crescent as the symbol of the imperial empire, but it is independently developed from the Turkish crescent and star one. The reason is that Mughal in Urdu and Hindi means Mongols, which means that the ruler of the Mughal Empire is actually the descendants of the Central Asia rulers, which is believed to descend back to the Genghis Khan himself. As such, a number of monuments in the Mughal Empire, such as the famous Taj Mahal, is topped with a crescent as a symbol of empire, in which later the people in India and the nearby kingdoms and countries also assume that the crescent is a symbol of ruling Islam at the time. The moon and the star only become the official symbol of the Ottoman Empire in year 1840 something. I forgot the year already. But during the Tanzimat era, the finalized flag of the Ottoman Empire has been what we know today, and later it's become the flag of modern day Republic of Turkey. As such, the flag of Ottoman Empire represents the ruling Islamic Empire, which being adapted after the demise of the Ottoman Empire in 1924 and adapted by the movement of anti-colonialism, especially in the Islamic countries, non-Arabic especially. The proof is that there is no single Arabian Peninsula countries use crescent and star in their flag. There's none of it. The Islamic countries that use the moon and the stars in the flag are the one who located outside the Middle East. For example, Malaysia, Maldives, Mauritania, Algeria, Tunisia, and some of the non-Muslim majority countries are using the crescent and the stars because of their historic link with the symbol itself. For example, Mongolia, which used Soyombo as part of emblem in the flag, and also Singapore for some reason. Officially, the crescent in the flag of Singapore symbolizes a young country, but deep into the meaning, actually, this is a symbol of the new maritime city, a new maritime power of the new Byzantine, as Singapore is the only true city-state left in the world. It's kind of a Byzantium in the past. And that is how the symbol of the crescent of the moon and stars ended up from the ancient Sumerian paganistic era from 4,500 years ago, ending up in Malaysia. And the design, okay, you might ask, how does the design of the Portsmouth flag related to Malaysian flag? Let me explain. When the Federation of Malaya was being formed in year 1948 as gaining the self-rule from the British Empire, it need its own flag instead of being still colonized one quarter by the British Union Jack. Such a new flag need to be designed, and the initial design of the Malayan flag at that time, it looked like this. The designer of the flag, Muhammad bin Osman, being advised by the Menteri Besar or Chief Minister of Johor at that time, Dato' On bin Jaafar, he need to make a modification of the crescent, moon and stars. And officially, it's not to resemble the star of communism, which is 5-pointed one, and being remodeled into 11 stars, which is nearly similar to the 8 pointed stars of Byzantium which used by the Portsmouth flag, and the color scheme is strikingly similar. Interesting enough, the designer of the Malayan flag, today's Malaysian flag, Muhammad bin Ottoman, never went to England before he designed the flag, but Dato' On bin Jaafar did. As such, the design of the Malayan flag, today is Malaysian flag, is actually a journey of a history throughout itself. Nothing is barely existed on their own. If you think that Malaysians insist to have the indigenous symbol of the flag in our national flag, maybe you can comment down and what do you think, because the initial suggestion we put Chris on the flag, seriously. So thank you very much for watching this documentary. Just as information, I hope you learned something new from this. Crescent and stars is not originally an Islamic symbol. The end.